There are people that say, well, the prime minister of Israel dragged Donald Trump into it. And as somebody that's been friends with him over 30 years, nobody drags Donald Trump into anything, number one, but I want to get your reaction to that.
Apparently, threats from Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israelis is what led to the United States carrying out the first strikes against Iran. In fact, Marco Rubio says that there was absolutely an imminent threat, and it was that we knew that if Iran was attacked by Israel, and we believe that they would be attacked, they would immediately come after us, and we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow. In other words, Israel was gonna attack, and if they did that, Iran was gonna attack the United States, so we decided to attack first. That was the rationale. If you think that's a good reason to attack a country, and if you think that Israel is somehow an ally to the United States, hopefully you are as far away from making decisions about foreign policy as humanly possible. Now, let's check in with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who wrote on X, quote, "We are in a campaign in which we are bringing the full might of the IDF as never before to this battle to ensure our existence and our future." Mind you, we're talking about a country that has a clandestine nuclear program and is not in any way threatened. Its existence is not threatened in any way. He continues, "But we are also bringing to this campaign the support of the United States, my friend, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the US military. 6 of our soldiers have already died for Israel in this war." He continues, "This combination of forces enables us to do what I have longed to do for 40 years, to strike the terrorist regime hip and thigh. That is what I promised, and that is what we will do." Speaking of the Israeli government, by the way, today Secretary of State Marco Rubio did make that statement that I read to you earlier. I wanted to read you what he said. Now I want you to watch what he said. Take a look.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's 2 reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
He continued to say, "We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we'd suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher than those killed." So let me just say, then the enemy is Israel. The enemy is Israel. If you're worried about Israel launching an attack, which would then make American soldiers in the region vulnerable to Iran's attacks, then Israel is not an ally. But he would never say that, of course.
Yeah, there was 2 admissions there. So first is, so Israel did push us into the war.
Of course.
You said, well, Israel was gonna attack, so we didn't have a choice. Well, here's a choice. Hey, Israel, we've given you $330 billion. If you attack without getting our permission, you won't get a single more dollar, and we will not help your attack. Who's the boss of who? Because if you just listen to Marco Rubio there, you would think that Israel is the much larger nation. We're the tiny little nation, and we got to listen to them because they're so powerful. Well, if Israel was going to go, then we were forced to go. Why? He just admitted we have no control over Israel, and they have complete control over us. But the second part is even worse. Did Israel use that as leverage against us? Hey, we could go without you, and if we do, then your guys will be caught off guard and a lot more Americans will die. So you better attack when we tell you. That's what it sounded like he said.
That's exactly, but that's what happened, Cenk. That's what happened. These are not our allies, okay?
That's not an ally, man.
They use and abuse, they don't care about our lives, they don't care about our soldiers' lives. They suck the life out of this country. And now they're looking to India to see if they could suck the life out of that country. And looks like Narendra Modi opening up his legs to Israel. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That can't happen soon enough, by the way. Okay, I would love to have Israel off our backs because they are destroying our country. They dragged us into previous conflicts and wars that we should have not been involved in at all. And now we're sucked into this war, which has escalated. It's become a regional war.
Can I just real quick on I met a Muslim man from India today. He's not the end all be all, it's just one guy, right? But what he told me was, yeah, Israel's now working with the Indian government. And what Israel is doing is driving hatred towards Muslims, just like they did here in the US, so that India will help Israel attack their Muslim neighbors.
Unfortunately, that was already a thing in India. So
but no, exactly right. So they're like, oh, there's a little bit of a fire there. Let's pour fuel on that fire. Right. And so and he said now his relatives are getting attacked in northern India because they've riled up the Hindus so much. Remember, hate the Muslims, hate the Muslims. Same guys who complain about bigotry nonstop. Anti-Semitism. They're like, hate the Muslims in India, in America, everywhere. Their whole driving agenda is hate the Muslims so you help murder them for us and so we can take their land. And these are the guys complaining about bigotry. Please, the Israelis, we have to get them out of our government completely. Let India deal with them, okay? Wherever they're gonna go next. But get them all right, anyway, get them out of our government because they're dug in. So look at our Secretary of State like a dog going there going, well, Israel ordered us to, so we had to go. Otherwise, more Americans would have died. And so obviously, since we can't disagree with the mighty Israelis, before more Americans died for Israel, we had to attack so that other Americans would die for Israel. So my last question in that regard is, who's going to be the last American to die for Israel in this war? Already 6 Americans dead. And we're gonna keep track, and every day they're gonna add new dead Americans for Israel's war. This has nothing to do with us. Nothing. Their ballistic missiles can't reach us. Their nuclear facilities are obliterated twice over. Their entire regime is killed. 49 dead, including the Ayatollah. Nothing to do with us. But no, all of the politicians, the disgusting corrupt politicians in DC, the disgusting corrupt media, all telling us, no, you have to bow your head. And if you dare object to Israel, we're gonna call you names and try to eliminate you from the national conversation. But they have no control here.
There are people that say, well, the prime minister of Israel dragged Donald Trump into it. And as somebody that's been friends with him over 30 years, nobody drags Donald Trump into anything, number one, but I want to get your reaction to that.
Well, you're right. I mean, that's ridiculous. Donald Trump is the strongest leader in the world. He does what he thinks is right for America. He does also what he thinks is right for future generations. And frankly, we're partners in that effort.
That evil cackle in the middle was haunting, so we actually made a clip out of it. We might go to this more and more, but this is Netanyahu's reaction to all of us. Yeah, and guys, what that was him thinking like, oh yeah, Donald Trump can't be pushed into anything unless you have what I have. One is 94% of Congress, 2 is $337 million the Adelsons gave Donald Trump, and 3 is the thing that you guys don't know. Oh yeah, he can't be pushed into war. What are you talking about? We getting pushed into war for decade after decade. In fact, Netanyahu brags about how he's been trying to push us into this war the entire time. Watch.
Is this now the culmination of decades of your work and your belief and your passion that these radicals needed to be defeated?
Well, you're right. I did have spoken about it for decades, and I try to persuade successive American administrations to take firm action. And President Trump, in his first term, did. He got out of the disastrous Iran deal right off the bat, and he did everything he could to prevent them from going into the nuclear program that they seek to build atomic bombs to threaten us and you, and ultimately to attack both of us.
Yeah, Iran was never going to attack us. The only reason why we're in this war with them is obviously because Netanyahu's been pushing for it all along. And in fact, rather than Trump being incredibly strong, and he can't be pushed into anything, they're all saying, right? No, I think he's actually the easiest president to push into a war. He's like, I'm anti-war and America first. Like, here's money and blackmail. Oh, right away, I'm Israel first and pro-war. So I don't know what they're talking about. But Trump, of course, got touchy about it. So he's like, oh, they didn't boss me. He says this instead.
Mr. President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready and we were ready.
Okay, two comical things about that. First, Israel didn't want this war. We had to force them into it. I don't think I have to make a case about that. And then let's go to Reuters to see if was Iran about to attack? Were they about to attack? Trump administration officials acknowledged in closed-door briefings with congressional staff on Sunday that there was no intelligence suggesting Iran planned to attack US forces first. Two people familiar with the matter said. So entirely made up by Donald Trump. Now you guys have seen Marco Rubio say Israel was gonna attack and we had to do it so that we didn't lose more American soldiers, we had to join them. It still looked like we were getting pushed into it. So I'm gonna play you clip 6 here. This is the Undersecretary of Defense, Elbridge Colby. He's being questioned by Elizabeth Warren in the Senate. Let's see what he says.
This is certainly not nation building. This is not going to be endless, as the president.
So this is not, in your mind, interventionism?
I don't think this is. No, I don't think that's what that nation building, endless wars. That's definitely not.
That's actually the very first word in the Department of Defense.
Interventionism is a more, I would say, kind of responsibility to protect or something. I mean, it's obviously not
really. And we didn't do this in order to try to protect Israel.
I think that well, that's one of the goals. It's obviously we're serving our own interests.
Interventionism.
So, Glenn. As I said in the beginning of this show, it feels like you change your reasons for the war. A regime change. I meant the nukes. I meant the ballistic missiles. I meant we have to destroy their whole navy. I meant roadside bombs. When you're trying to hide the real reason you're doing it, because like when I want to get money out of politics, I have a very clear reason for why I want to do that. I don't need to obfuscate around it. I don't have to lie about it. I can just tell you exactly why I'm doing it, right? So, I mean. To what degree is it obvious that Israel is pushing us into this war?
We just listened to video, and there's so many other examples where Netanyahu just flat out says, Sean Hannity said it too, this has been your supreme dream for 40 years. It has been the #1 wish on the wish list of Israel, Netanyahu, the Israel lobby, Israel firsters in the United States, to lure the United States into a regime change war against Iran to remove the government that is Israel's most formidable adversary. Having heard all that, Trump is then going to turn around and say, I actually pushed them into doing it. They didn't want to, I'm the one who decided. On top of which, we just heard Marco Rubio and Tom Cotton and all the other people say the exact opposite. The reason we had to was because Israel was going to, whether we were going to or not, and we were afraid we would get attacked, so we were forced by Israel to do so. Trump just says whatever he wants. I mean, the amount of lying that was there was amazing. Just really quickly though, on that one Defense Department official you showed, Elbridge Colby, he actually, he almost didn't get confirmed because the Israel lobby was opposed to him. He is one of these guys who believes we have to stop our interventions in the Middle East. He's a very realist sort of figure, which is why the Israel lobby didn't want him. I'm sure there's pushback in the Defense Department saying we can't fight this war. We don't have the readiness for it. We don't have the weapons for it. the problem is that once you start a war like this, you can't just end it whenever you want, because the outcome has to be such that you can end it in a way that lets you say that you've won. And the more Iran attacks things like our embassies in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, as they're doing, or bombing Israel or killing American soldiers, the more Trump is going to feel compelled to get further and further into this war, and that is the real danger. Did Israel force Trump, or does Trump just like the idea of being a war president? Hard to say. They did pretend to be at loggerheads last year too, like Trump was supposedly trying to negotiate and Netanyahu wanted to go to war, and it turned out to be a ruse to just lure Iran into lowering their defense systems. It could be that Trump wanted as much as Netanyahu, but one thing I know for sure is that the Israelis and Netanyahu didn't just want this now, they wanted it for decades. And whatever else is true, Trump's claim that he told the Israelis to do it against their wishes is one of the most transparent lies you could possibly tell.
Now, before on the Young Turks, we've shown you clips of Netanyahu arguing to go to war with Iran for the last, actually longer than 20 years, about 30 years at a minimum, right? But Glenn mentioned earlier in the show that they promised us that Iraq would be easy too, and now you got all these guys going, yeah, maybe it's for Israel, maybe it's not, but it's going to be easy, 4 or 5 weeks and we're done. I remember another guy telling me about that, or telling all of us about that, back during the lead up to the Iraq war. Let's see who that was. Oh, sorry.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region.
Did it, Glenn?
Well, if you think ISIS is a positive reverberation on the region, which by the way, Israel might, is ISIS has never really shown a propensity to attack Israel, interestingly, then I guess you could say so. I don't think anyone else really thinks that. He also went on to say, you're gonna have democracy flourish in the region, taking out Saddam is the key to everything. He's the terrorist regime. Again, Cenk, it's the exact same script they're using now for Iran.
If we didn't hit within 2 weeks, they would have had a nuclear weapon. If we didn't do the B-2 attack a number of months ago, they would have a nuclear weapon. And when crazy people have nuclear weapons, bad things happen. I think we have great support. And I think if we didn't do it first, they would have done it to Israel and give us a shot if that was possible.
Okay, not only is none of that true, but President Donald Trump said in the very last part of that video that if we didn't do this, they were gonna hit Israel. That sounds like Israel's problem. But the real question here is, why is it that regardless of which president we're talking about, in this case, of course, it's President Donald Trump, they insist on being humiliated in front of the American people on the world stage on behalf of Israel? Why do they like to get dog walked by a foreign leader? And I think we might have our answer. We've talked about bribery. We've talked about blackmail, which I do think that Trump might be a victim of, especially when it came to the Epstein files cover up. But there's something else at play here. And I think it has to do with the fact that it's very obvious the Israelis have been spying on the United States and the Trump administration in particular. We stand to gain nothing by getting involved in this war against Iran, which has unfortunately escalated to a regional war. There's complete chaos in the Middle East as we speak. We've lost billions of dollars already. We've lost at least 6 soldiers, if not more. And Iran is not a threat to the United States. Their ballistic missiles couldn't even reach the US. So why did we get involved in this? And it does look like Israel has Trump by the balls. Let's just keep it real. And it's clear they've been spying on him because it's being reported as such. So let's start off with Shalom Lipner, who worked for the Israeli government and for various pro-war think tanks here in the United States. He writes, Israeli intel obtained information earlier this week that raised suspicions that communication had taken place between Iran and the administration to discuss a ceasefire. Oh, wow, how scandalous. Possible ceasefire? How could that happen? Netanyahu called White House officials on Monday and asked if talks or exchange of messages happened. How dare you engage in potential diplomatic talks to end the bloodshed in the Middle East, Trump? Have you been having conversations with the Iranians behind my back? Now, where did this reporting originate from? Well, someone who worked for Israeli intel until like yesterday, and that was Barack Ravid, who reported this for Axios, saying that Netanyahu sought clarifications from the White House earlier this week after intelligence suggested Trump administration officials might be communicating with Iran. How did the Israelis get this intel about communications between the United States and Iran? I wonder. So you look into the piece or the compilation of bullet points that the former Israeli intel agent wrote for Axios. And he says that Netanyahu's outreach suggests that the Israeli government is concerned about a scenario in which the US pursues a ceasefire before all of Israel's war objectives have been achieved. Is there anyone seriously suggesting that this war isn't all about Israel and what they want? It's just so abundantly clear. You have Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, just saying it to us plainly. Of course, he probably was pulled aside after he admitted that the US got dragged into this war on behalf of Israel and was told by his masters that he better walk it back. And he tried to and looked like a clown while he was doing it. But nonetheless, this is all about Israel. That's it. This does not benefit the United States in any way, shape, or form. On Monday, Barack Ravid writes, Netanyahu called White House officials and asked if such talks or exchange of messages happened. The White House told Bibi that the Trump administration wasn't talking to the Iranians behind his back. Don't worry, Bibi, I'm not talking to him. I swear I'm not talking to anybody you don't want me to talk to. I'm not cheating on you. Embarrassing. This is supposed to be the most powerful country in the world. What a joke. A US official said Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's advisor and son-in-law, Jared Kushner, talk almost every day to their daddy, Benjamin Netanyahu, to the director of Mossad, David Barnea, another terrorist, and other Israeli officials. And that regardless of ups and downs in the past, the coordination over the last month was very close. Don't worry, baby. I'm devoted to you, not to the American people, not what's in the best interest of my own country, but for a tiny, irrelevant country in the Middle East that is belligerent, that is a pariah state, that has leached off the American people for many, many decades now, and has dragged us into wars that has cost US taxpayers literally trillions of dollars. That's supposed to be an ally? It actually sounds like we have an enemy of the state grabbing our presidents by the balls and humiliating the American people in the process of doing so. That's the reality of the situation.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.